Hi, this is Michelle from Parenting a Pancreas. Today I wanted to talk to you about sending your T1D toddler to preschool. And I know that that can be absolutely terrifying. For me and for a lot of you, this is the first time that you would really be without your child with you. And I know for me, my child had been with me 24/7 for a full year after diagnosis. So this was really the first time that he was going to be in someone else's care for any length of time. So I'm going to show you what materials we use to train his teachers, what we send to preschool, and how we're making it work for us. So a week before he even started preschool, I went in person and I presented some training materials to his teacher, to the owner of the preschool, and a few of the assistants. I wanted to let them know what to look for in terms of symptoms of lows and highs, how to treat those lows, what range of blood sugar we should be looking for in terms of in-range numbers, and I wanted to explain to them a little bit about the condition and what tools we would be using to monitor his blood sugar. I wanted to emphasize that I was going to be monitoring his blood sugar remotely via his Dexcom app, and I also wanted to make sure that they knew that they weren't alone in monitoring or treating his lows. I would of course be messaging the teacher anytime I wanted her to give him juice or a snack or something like that. So let's take a look at the materials that I presented. I'm going to include a link to this as a PDF, but it's a small printout that I made on Canva, and it basically talks about his condition in terms of what type 1 diabetes is as an autoimmune condition. And I wanted to let them know that this is not something that we caused or that he caused. Obviously, this is something that just happened because of his genetics and environmental factors that we have no control over. I wanted to teach them what his CGM, his Dexcom, is, and show them where on his body he wears it, usually on his arm or upper buttocks. And I wanted to also show them what his insulin pump looks like. I wasn't so concerned about them treating highs. They weren't going to be giving him any insulin at school. I just wanted to let them know that if his blood sugar was out of range, the pump usually would bring it down via auto corrections and basal. But if he was high for hours at a time, of course, I wanted them to contact me. I would probably have to come in and either change the pump or give him insulin manually. I wanted to explain to them what blood sugar ranges look like, what are considered in-range numbers, 70 to 180, and what out-of-range numbers look like for lows, how we treat those with, of course, juice, glucose tablets, fruit, things like that, and of course the high numbers, what to look for there. Usually he doesn't have too many symptoms in either direction. Of course, you would want to point out for your child what their symptoms would be for highs and lows. For my child, lows very low. Usually he doesn't have symptoms unless he's in the 50s or 40s, but he tends to feel cold and he says he's very hungry. And for highs, generally we don't see symptoms unless he's very high, over 250, in which case he might be urinating more, thirsty, or a bit irritable. And I wanted to let them know when to call me or his dad. Of course, if one of his devices gets knocked off, we need to be notified right away so we could replace it. And I also emphasize that if someone brings a surprise treat or snack for a birthday or a holiday, please try to let us know in advance, even 30 minutes or an hour in advance, so that I could come dose him for that treat. I did not want him to miss out or feel left out from that. And of course, if his blood sugar is continually high for several hours, we want to know, because we'd be concerned there's something wrong with the pump site in that case, or maybe he was getting sick. And I trained them on what to do in case of an emergency. I left them with the Gvoke HypoPen, and the teacher keeps that in a lockbox in the classroom with his name and prescription information. And I trained them on how to use that. We also have now since acquired Baqsimi, which I'll be leaving with them next year for the start of his second year there. But of course, train them on how to use it and when to use it. I told them only to use it if he's unconscious, of course. We would like to treat any lows with juice, fruit, or glucose tablets first. So what low supplies do we keep on hand at school? I stocked the school's fridge with two different types of juice boxes. We have Juicy Juice, which is extremely sweet and high carb, and that's for sudden drops, urgent lows. And we also keep Honest Juice on hand. Those are lower carb, I believe only 8 or 9 carbs per box. And sometimes if he's drifting down but not tanking, I'll text the teacher and say, have a few sips of Honest Juice for him, just to kind of level him off. Other snacks we keep on hand, we keep some Ritz crackers at the school just to give him after treating a low. And I also pack him a snack every day. How do I monitor my son's numbers while he's at school? Of course, he has his own iPhone that the teacher keeps near him at all times. But from my house, I use the Dexcom Follow app, and here it is. It allows me to see his numbers when he's not with me. And another thing that we brought for the school was the sugar pixel. I bought one of these to keep in his classroom, and we keep it up on a high up shelf so that the teacher can glance at his numbers without having to constantly look at his phone throughout the day. And we actually turned off the alarms on the sugar pixel because I know they can be quite loud and I didn't want to scare the other kids. Of course, his phone will alarm if he is having a low, but we keep the sugar pixel just in the classroom so that the teacher can glance at his numbers without too much disruption of her regular activities. So because my son only goes to preschool from 9 until noon, he is not there for lunch, so he's only there for the snack time. Now, what do I pack for snack time? This is very tricky because if I pack something that's too high carb, he could skyrocket and get a huge correction and start tanking. On the other hand, if I pack something very low carb and he's trending down, then he might not have enough glucose to bring him back up from the trending down. So what do I pack him? We've settled on these Simple Mills crackers, and I usually pair this with some cheese, either American cheese, cheddar, Gouda, mozzarella. And so that combo seems to work fairly well for us. Usually by the time they eat snack at 10:30, he's drifting down. He might need something to prop him back up. So this sort of helps to catch that fall and keep him stable for the rest of his time at preschool. Sometimes if he is already on the higher end, I am able to send him insulin remotely with my remote bolus feature on Loop Follow. But I try to avoid doing that. Sometimes I'm not sure if the insulin has been delivered, and I also don't want to tank him too much before he starts eating the snack, because sometimes they eat the snack a little later than expected. So it's really become a game of trying to level out his blood sugar as much as possible during snack time. If you found this content helpful for starting your child in preschool or daycare, please let me know. Also, remember to subscribe. Thanks.